Hello. Okay, so today we are installing Visual Studio Code. So this is the text editor that we use in all our MEM workshops at the moment. We used to use Atom a fair bit and Sublime Text before that. All of them fantastic text editors, but at the moment we've decided to stick with Visual Studio Code for a while. So this is the video to explain how to install it, which is obviously very, very simple, just like any other piece of software. So we're on Windows at the moment. I will do another video installing it on Mac, but it is much the same process. So you can see here, there's a button, download for Windows. This is on the code.visualstudio.com website, or you could just Google Visual Studio Code and you'll get sent here, or just VS Code and you'll also get sent here. So we'll hit the download for Windows stable build button. That will go through to a page to install the file. So thanks for downloading. Yep, no worries. Should start automatically, fantastic. And that will come down. Depending on your configuration, that may have ended up in your downloads folder, or you could have had a choice like I did to put it somewhere. I generally put all my downloads on my desktop just for ease of finding them. Whatever the case, find that exe file or the DMG file if you're on a Mac, and just click on that from within Chrome. If you've run Internet Explorer or another browser, you may have got a different message. The point is just double click on the file here. User account within Windows is asking us if we're okay with VS Code changing our file system, which if we want to install it, we kind of have to be. So basically next, yes, we accept the agreement because we trust Microsoft. This is the path we're going to install it. Yep, fantastic. Creating a desktop icon is always a good idea, I find, just to be able to find it easily. The adding open with code action to Windows Explorer and file context menu and the Windows Explorer directory context menu, I find to be very useful. It means that you can right click on an HTML file and just say open with code straight away, as opposed to going through a few different steps of sort of selecting open with and then having Windows open up a bunch of different bits of software that you might want to open it with. Obviously, if you just double click on an HTML file, it will open it in your web browser. And so this way it's great because you can just right click on an HTML file and it will you'll get that open with code option, which is fantastic. We'll put that in there. Register code as an editor for supported file types. Same thing. If we register as the editor for, say, CSS or .js files, it means we can just double click on a CSS file and it will immediately open it in Visual Studio Code, which is fantastic. Add to path, we'll keep that ticked as well. Install, fantastic, that looks great. And so we'll push the install button. This will take some time. And so I will come back after that installation has finished. Okay, installation has finished. That took quite some time. Launch Visual Studio Code. We'll keep that ticked and we'll press the finish button and that will now open up our new instance of Visual Studio Code, which is fantastic. We've got a nice welcome screen here that asks us if we want to open a new file, new folder, this sort of thing. We can see we've got an error message here, Git not found. Install or configure it using Git path. So that is something that if you are planning to use Git, absolutely go through this process if you don't already have Git installed. We'll do this in a separate video. If you're not concerned about that, if you're just downloading this for one of our 3-hour or maybe our 1-day workshop, or if you're just downloading it to play around with some code, then you certainly don't need to worry about having Git installed or any of that sort of stuff. A quick walk around through Visual Studio. We've got here, this is our file menu up the left here, and so this will show all the files and folders that we have open in our project. This is the search, where we can search within our project. This is fantastic, and one of the great things about Visual Studio Code is that version control is actually built in. So if you are using Git, I believe it also supports SVN and TFS, but if you are using Git, you can work within Visual Studio Code without installing something else like SourceTree or another Git client, which is pretty fantastic. This here is for debugging, and this is for installing plugins, which are a lot of fun, which we will do in a separate video as well. But we've got to the end of what we set out to do, which is basically just install Visual Studio Code on our Windows machine, which is fantastic. If you were looking for the Mac equivalent, then just do a search and you'll find me doing a video on how to install this on a Mac as well. All right, thanks again and chat to you soon.